Hello, everyone. For our last talk today, I'm excited to share a topic with you that I've been working on for about 10 years, and that's gratitude. I'd like to begin with a little story. About 6 months ago, I ordered a sandwich from near my office in the U District. And about a half an hour went by, sandwich hadn't arrived yet, and then the manager called me and said, "I'm sorry, actually, none of our delivery people came in today. And so I'm not going to be able to bring it. You either have to cancel the order or come into the store." And so I said, "Don't worry about it, I'll come over there." And I just took a moment and said, "And by the way, I really appreciate you taking the time to call people. It's probably not the most pleasant thing in the world. You probably have some angry people. So thank you for that." And he paused and then he said, "I've been working here for almost a year, and this is the first time that anyone's really taken a few moments to say that they appreciated what I'm doing here." So we talked on the phone for about the next 10 minutes, which probably wasn't great for all the other calls he had to make. But it illustrates, I think, something important, which is that there's a pretty big gap between the amount of gratitude that we hope to see in the world and the amount of gratitude that actually exists, both in ourselves and what we express to others. In 2017, the Greater Good Science Center ran a survey that kind of supports that this is especially true at work. So if you ask people, "Hey, do you think gratitude can have a positive impact?" And about 90% of people, almost everybody, says yes. Also, about 66% of people say, "And you know what? If I wasn't appreciated at my job, I'd leave." And this number goes up to 76% for millennials. But then you ask them what they actually do at work. And most of them say, I basically don't say thank you on a given day. In fact, 60% say, "Honestly, I pretty much never express gratitude at work." And research by myself and others suggests there's a few reasons for this gratitude gap. One of the first ones is that we don't think it'll have an impact. So there are some scholars at the University of Chicago, and they ran this study and they said, if you were to go express gratitude to somebody, how do you think it would go? And they said, "I don't know, I think it'd be really awkward. And they know why I'm grateful for them, so I don't really think it would have that positive impact on them." Then they had those same people actually do it, and when they went and expressed gratitude to someone, they said, "Actually, it wasn't as awkward as I thought, and the other person was more surprised than I thought when I told them the specific ways in which I'm grateful for them." The second reason is, especially in organizations that are competitive, kind of transactional, people worry that, hey, if I express gratitude to somebody, I'm going to be seen as incompetent, because I'm showing that I need the help of somebody else. In fact, people are often hesitant to ask for help at work for this reason. And the third one, very simply, is we just aren't in the habit of expressing gratitude to people. And so it just doesn't occur to us, especially at work, that this is something that we can or should do. And so what I'm going to suggest is that if we want to cultivate gratitude, we can focus on these two pillars. There's an inward pillar and an outward pillar. The inward pillar is about cultivating a grateful outlook within ourselves. The outward pillar is about building habits of appreciation for others. I'm going to talk about 3 steps within each of these pillars. Before I do, I want to mention briefly that if you're looking to cultivate gratitude as a leader in an organization, it's very important for you to set the tone. You do this in 2 ways. Number 1, you have to treat employees with dignity and respect. And number 2, you have to be a role model, showing gratitude and expressing appreciation yourself. If you don't do these 2 things, efforts to try to build a more grateful organization are going to backfire. So with that said, we'll look first at our inward pillar, cultivating a grateful outlook. And I think the first step here is to understand the impact. Now, if you look at articles that often come up on gratitude, you're going to see headlines that look a little bit like this, talking about how, hey, if you do gratitude journaling, it's going to make you happier. And you can kind of think about this as gratitude light. But when Cicero said that gratitude is the parent of all other virtues, I don't think he was saying, hey, it's something that makes us happy. I think he was thinking of gratitude as something a little bit deeper and a little bit more impactful. About a year ago, I ran a study in a company that makes airline food. So you have teams that are assembling the airline food, putting it together. You have teams that are cleaning the factory. You have teams that are driving the food to and from the airport. And we randomly assigned half of the factories to a control condition. The other half of the factories, we asked people to express gratitude to each other between 1 and 3 times a day for a week. And the most powerful effect that we found was, after a week of this, People continued to express gratitude to each other, but it was their relationships that were truly strengthened. So they continued to help each other more. They felt more engaged with their work. Basically, a lot of people were just sort of working beside each other, not really talking all that much. But just getting started, there was this positive upward spiral where people started to say, you know what? I like being a little more deeply connected to my colleagues. Now I can see this impact that I'm having on others. And even 1, 2, 3 weeks later, people continue to help each other more, feel more engaged, express more gratitude to each other. So once we kind of understand what we're going for here, not just something that makes us happy, but something that can deepen and strengthen our relationships with other people, the next thing we want to try to do is to build a habit of reflection. Sometimes what's recommended is a gratitude journal. We can also just contemplate and think about the things that we're grateful for in our lives. There are a few reasons that this works particularly well. One is that it focuses our attention on the things that we're grateful for in life. At baseline, we have a negative asymmetry bias. And what that means is we tend to focus on the bad things more than the good things. We tend to say, that person has a better job than us. There's even a study that shows that we always think that referees for other teams, or the referees are always sort of more working for the benefit of other teams. They're unfair towards us. So gratitude reflection helps balance that out a little bit. It also shows us what to seek more of in our lives. Because we're thinking about, here are the things that I'm grateful for. I'm really grateful for that really great time where I went out and had a deep conversation with a friend over coffee. I should do more of that. And then the third reason that it works is it helps connect us to others, because we start seeing, wow, I have all of these relationships that bring so much gratitude into my life, and we start valuing those relationships more, which in turn transforms how we interact with other people. So we try to understand the impact, deepening connections with other people. We try to reflect. We can journal, or we can just contemplate. And then to cultivate this inward pillar, it's especially useful to share and have gratitude conversations. In fact, this is what I recommend even more than a gratitude journal, is a gratitude conversation. If you develop a habit of every night at dinner with friends or family, we take just a few moments to speak with each other about what we're grateful for. It's a really powerful way to bring that social aspect of gratitude to the forefront. Gratitude is most powerful when we bring it outside of ourselves and into our conversations with others. So that's how we can think about that inward pillar. Next, we have this outer pillar, which is about building a habit of appreciation. The first thing we want to do here, and this comes from Mike Robbins, who gives a lot of talks on gratitude, is understanding the difference between recognition and appreciation. They're similar to each other, but they also have important distinctions. Recognition is kind of transactional. It's here's positive feedback in exchange for the performance that you have given the organization. Appreciation is much broader. It's about valuing the person as a whole. So it's not limited. It's not transactional. It's not about what you've done in the past. It's about who you are now. And there are simple phrases that we can use to cultivate this notion of appreciation. Simple things like, thank you for being here, or you're an important part of this team, can have so much power in helping an individual understand that even on a bad day, they are valued and they are important to the other people in this organization. So we can focus on appreciation, and the next thing we want to say is we can appreciate in many ways. So first, we can have those verbal expressions, most powerful when we talk about the person and who they are, what makes them a great person to be around. The next thing is thinking about spending quality time with people. So let's say that you're a manager at work. That means making sure that you have one-on-ones with your employees. Chris Porath at Georgetown University has a rule that I really like. It's called the 10-5 rule. And says, hey, if you're walking by somebody, if you're within 10 feet of them, you make eye contact and you smile at them. And if you're within 5 feet, you say hello. And I've talked to employees about the difference between a manager who walks by you in the hallway and doesn't acknowledge your existence, and the difference between somebody who walks by you in the hallway, smiles and says hello, this big of a difference, right? If we want to talk about the impact of a small activity, great example here. Next, we have acts of service, helping other people. I'll give you a useful tip here. Important difference between giving help after you talk to them about what they actually want, and just kind of guessing and helping somebody even if you don't ask. If you just try to guess and just help somebody even if they didn't ask for that help, it can actually kind of backfire. The person can feel a little bit diminished. It's much better to have a conversation with the person, try to understand what they actually need, and then help them. That's what helps the person feel seen, feel understood. That's what helps bring dignity and a sense of appreciation to that relationship with the other person. Now, the fourth way that we can appreciate tangible gifts, but let me tell you something about this one. For only 6% of people is it the preferred way that we show appreciation. Now, unsurprisingly, it's a really common one at work because we tend to use transactional metaphors at work, right? Hey, this is all about exchanges, so in exchange for the things that you did, let me give you this tangible gift. It's better if you tailor it to the person, so you're showing some sort of understanding of what that person actually cares about in their lives, but in general, we don't want to make the mistake of focusing on this one too much. We want to balance it out with the other ones. Also on this topic of appreciating in many ways, I'll briefly mention the single most powerful intervention in this gratitude space is the gratitude letter. You write a letter to somebody important in your life about the ways in which you're grateful for that person, and ideally you read it to them. Now, remember at the beginning I said, when we talk about gratitude, the immediate reaction is, that sounds awkward. But when you actually do it, I guarantee that's something that that other person and you will remember for the rest of your life, and it will deepen your relationship with that person. The last thing that I want to mention for cultivating this habit of appreciation is, what do we do when other people thank us? And I think the metaphor of a gift is useful here. Sometimes when somebody gives us praise, says that they really appreciate us, we say, oh no, don't worry about it, it was nothing. Or we try to say something quick back to them. Now, imagine that you give somebody a birthday present on their birthday, and then they say, oh no, I don't want this present. Here, let me give you a present too. And then they hand you something from their pocket. Here's my bus pass, here's my Orca card, right? Then you probably wouldn't feel great about the present that you gave to that person. So if somebody appreciates you, you say thank you, and then that's it. The last thing I want to leave you with, and this comes from Bob Emmons at the University of California, Davis, the idea of a gratitude boot camp. So if you want to practice cultivating, and this is the take out your phones and take a photo of it, or you can email me for it later. The idea here is, hey, let's practice some of these things for a week, and let's find out what's transformational, what works for us in our lives. We start with some gratitude journaling, some specific gratitude journaling. We have a gratitude conversation, express gratitude to somebody, express appreciation in real life, practice some of those acts of service, and on the last day, we reflect on what worked for us and try to use that as the starting point of cultivating a gratitude habit. And I've done this myself. I find that expressing appreciation is the most powerful one, and so I recommend that you do this as well. Thank you all so much.